Hello, Courthouse Quilters. Juliet here, and I made this presentation so that I could share my excitement regarding the Seaglass Quilts program coming up on March 23rd of 2025. I wanted to share with you some ideas and just tell you a little bit about the program and what Seaglass quilting is all about, and to give you some examples too. So that first quilt you saw was actually the monochrome quilt that I made for our color challenge in 2023. If you remember, that it was just all different colors of purple, and I just threw in a little turtle and did some quilting around it like bubbles. But that was just one example of a monochrome. I love Seaglass quilts because they are basically the color of the rainbow. It reminds you of the ocean. There's so many different colors to work with and ideas to work with, and I'm going to show you a whole bunch right now. So if you are able to click on this link, which I hope that you are, this will take you to a really great website that actually describes where all Seaglass comes from and the colors and what it could have come from and what the rarity is. So it's actually really interesting, like the jade colors, the green jade colors or the red colors come from different places. Back in the 20s, they used that kind of milky green glass to make various kitchen items. That's something that may have gotten thrown in the ocean and tumbled around for decades and decades, and then you'll find it on the beach. That's one of the really rare ones. Also, the reds are very rare, and that would probably come from more like the 1950s. They made red bottles, and you'll find all this information in that website. So have fun discovering all of that. I really like history, so I really enjoyed looking through everything and where the glass comes from. But like I said, decades and decades of tumbling through the ocean. And you might not even find smooth, beautiful sea glass like you'll see here. These are the ones that have been tumbled through the ocean for decades. But sometimes when I go to like Point Pleasant, for example, I'll find like rougher, more jagged edged sea glass. And those are the ones that like somebody on a fishing boat tossed out like 2 years ago, and it actually made it to shore, and it's still worn down, but not like beautifully smooth like these. So these are like more Seaglass rarities, like the reds, the yellows, the cobalt blues are pretty rare, and the things like the greens are rare, but the lighter greens, the seafoam greens, the aqua blues, or the UV light greens, the ones that are like Heineken bottles are more prevalent today. So to do this program, I really was hoping this would be kind of like a scrap buster program for you, that you would be able to pull fabrics from your stash and use them to make a beautiful Seaglass quilt wall hanging. So I'm recommending like 15 by 24 or 24 by 24 sized background, and try to use the heat and bonds and cut out the fabric Seaglass pieces before you come to class, or maybe like half of them, so you don't spend the whole time just cutting. So you'll be able to actually start designing your Seaglass wall hanging. And this is just an example of some of the ways you could cut out different shapes and hues and colors. So here's many examples that I put together for you. First, one of my favorites is this one up in the right corner, where they use this Seaglass to make a beautiful picture or shape, and then they use the negative space to do some wonderful quilting. And of course, I love the embroidery coast to coast friendship, which is really cool. Here's some really like loud, bright colors in the middle, and the one that's under my picture, and hopefully you can move my picture around on the screen and see this in full, is kind of like a typical Seaglass hanging, where you have like blues and greens and some like lighter hues. Now these are some brighter ones. I really liked the example here of you don't have to use solid colors. Like on the one on the left, you can see there's a yellow piece with like flowers on it. There's a pink piece with some yellow and blue. It's like patterned, almost like the cough patterns, like bright colors. The one in the middle, my favorite piece is that magenta and light blue one. I love that one. And then down here on the right, bottom right, I want you to notice that they put in starfish, seashells, and they did some negative space with some really cool quilting. I just thought that was really nice. I wanted to share that with you. Sky's the limit on how you want to do this. Take a look at these. The one in the middle specifically, it's like the lighter hue starts in that upper 1/3 and then moves out to darker colors. The same with this one on the right. It has like a lighter hue in the middle and then moves out to the corners in darker colors. And the one under my picture with the black in the upper right corner, I just thought that was really nice because you really had a wide range of colors, reds, yellows. And then also note that some of these print fabrics are actually words. You can see like words on there, vertical, horizontal. There's some gray one with a bunch of pattern. Like it's all just whatever you want. There's solids and there's patterns. I even see a stripe one and a polka dot one in there, which I actually have to take a close look because really my eyes just drawn to the colors and the hues. Oh, this was really neat and I had to include it. This middle one reminds me of like the Hawaii beach with the red dirt. So you have the red sand, the sea foam, and then the blue as the background. And then they use so many different hues and colors to put sea glass over the top. I thought that was really brilliant. The upper right corner is just bright and just beautiful. And then I hope you can move my picture and see this blue and white one where it's kind of like a circle, almost looks like a burst, and it has that beautiful negative space quilting around it. I thought that was absolutely gorgeous. Some more examples of not using white in your background, grays, blacks. This one does have white, but it's so close together that you really don't have a lot of negative space. They use different sizes of sea glass, big ones, little ones, just all incorporated, which I thought was really cool. And then you can see the huge differences too. The gray one in the middle, the hue is like light in the middle, and then it just goes out to dark to the corners. And again, you can see like patterns in those too if you take a close look. Another one of my favorites here on the left, black background with sea fans, octopus, starfish, like ocean themed fabrics, but so many different colors too. It just looks so cool. I love the upper right where you have some negative space in the middle, almost looks like ocean currents, and then the sea glass on the corners. That's really neat. And the middle is just to me like a standard one. I see so many where people use these beautiful jewel tones to just make really pleasing patterns and hues and variances. So some more ideas. I really like this one on the right because it has, again, the starfish, the seashells, the different colors, how it's so close together. Like, I really like that. The one in the middle here is just the progress of the first heart sea glass that I showed you on the first slide. So where they're embroidering the coast to coast. And the upper left is just the typical kind of raw edge applique where they heat and bonded it down and then sewed around the outside of the shapes. But on this next piece, you'll see you don't have to just do raw edge applique and sew on the outside. You can use this middle part with the heart is just lines going back and forth, which I thought was brilliant. Up in the right corner, you have the raw edge, but they did more than just one time around. They did maybe 2 or 3 times inside the actual sea glass piece. I like the one in the bottom here where you see like 3 circles, but it looks to me like one of those circles is actually quilted in there. So I just thought it was really cool way to do that. And finally on the left here, I just couldn't believe how much negative space they used and how it just looks so neat. It's actually, to me, looks like a raw edge sea glass, like one of the ones that were just thrown off the ship like a couple years ago, and it ended up being like not as smooth on the beach. And then using all the negative space to just put in like those rounds of bubbles or different designs. I just thought it was so neat. So here is the recap of the invite that you should have seen already. Sunday, March 23rd, 1 to 3 at the county complex. The supply list is here with my suggestions on what you could bring. I do suggest that you try to cut out at least half of the fabric pieces of sea glass and bring it to put them on the back and start your design. So you don't spend the whole time just cutting fabric for 2 hours. And I'm gonna try to have an ironing board and some of the other things, but I would suggest bringing most of what's on here. And if you feel like you might be ready to start sewing, bring your sewing machine. And finally, the last slide. Thanks for listening to this presentation. I wanted to show you that these colors actually also exist underwater. My husband and I are scuba divers, and if you've ever been snorkeling, you see that you can see these beautiful colors up top in like 10 to 20 feet of water. And as you go deeper, the sunlight doesn't penetrate as far and you lose the colors. But if you bring a camera down into the ocean and you use a flash, the colors really exist in the ocean too. The pinks, the yellows, the oranges, the greens, the reds. In the middle here where you see the scuba diver, my husband and I actually dove this area. It's called Palancar Caves in Cozumel, Mexico. So back in 2007 we dove, and I have pictures that look like that. I couldn't find mine, so I took this one off the net, but it looked just like that. And you can see down here under my picture too, pinks, magentas, oranges, yellows, like these really exist in nature. So the sky's the limit. Bust that stash, use the pieces, and make yourself a beautiful Seaglass wall hanging. I can't wait to work with you all on this. And thanks again for listening. Have a good one.